In the high plateaus of Utah lies a kingdom of towering rock in the rugged badlands. From a maze of narrow canyons to a sea of soaring spires. It is one of North America's last great wildlands. Home to one of the world's most spectacular natural structures. A lifeline to the desert's parched creatures. A place where canyons are carved from chaos. One of the world's roughest natural wonders. This is the Colorado Plateau. Zion National Park, a geological treasure stretching across nearly 600 square kilometers of southern Utah's Colorado Plateau. More than 300,000 square kilometers of high desert plains sprinkled with pines and junipers. It is a high-altitude desert plateau bounded by the Rocky Mountains, the Great Basin, and Sonoran deserts. The Colorado Plateau straddles Utah, Arizona, Colorado, and New Mexico, and has a land mass larger than the entire United Kingdom. Zion is defined by a landscape of deep canyons, majestic arches, and towering sandstone walls. It is like a wild gallery of sculpted rock. Elevated as high as 1,200 meters above sea level, Zion National Park is the second tallest point on the Colorado Plateau. Its canyon walls stand taller than the world's highest skyscraper.
I love being completely surrounded by the rocks and the canyons and just being a little tiny piece of this vast area.
Millions of years ago, a shift in the Earth's crust pushed huge swaths of rock upward, lifting Zion to its current elevation. This uplift was the first of many events to shape Zion's landscape. Streams pouring off the plateau cut into ancient rock layers. Sediment and large boulders were carried downstream, sculpting a magnificent canyon. One waterway is still carving its path through Zion. The Virgin River. This is the lifeblood of Zion's ecosystem and the architect of its mighty canyon. Though averaging only 30 meters wide across, the Virgin River is astoundingly steep, dropping 2,000 meters along its 260-kilometer path. an average descent of 8 meters per kilometer. By contrast, the Mississippi River drops just 3 centimeters per kilometer. As the river descends into the valley, it gains speed, hastening erosion, as if cutting into a cake to expose its many layers. The Virgin River slices through the canyon. At Zion, water is everything.
The Virgin River itself truly is the lifeblood of this region. It's how we still today are able to grow gardens and have agriculture, and it plays a very big role for the last 10,000 years in human inhabitants here in this region.
In the 1850s, Mormon farmers settled in the valley of the park, building communities along the river. The canyon floor was farmed until the 1900s, when Zion became a national park. Named by these Mormon pioneers, Zion means a place of peace and refuge. The Virgin River is an oasis in the middle of a dust bowl. Rimmed by the Mojave and Great Basin deserts, Zion lies at the intersection of 3 separate ecosystems. The park blooms with more than 900 plant species, found nowhere else in Utah. The river flows year-round, providing vital drinking water to a surprisingly wide diversity of wildlife. 500 more species of animals live along its banks than in the surrounding desert. In the Southwest, water is a cherished commodity. Down in the valley, southeast of Zion, a long and arid stretch of land, called a dry wash, lies in the foothills of the high plateaus. The soil is robbed of color, the air deprived of moisture, the land bone dry. But not for long. Summer months bring heat. They also bring the North American monsoon.
The actual overall weather pattern of the area completely shifts, and that's actually where the word monsoon comes from. It's an Arabic word from masim, which actually means season. So it's a seasonal shift of the wind patterns in the entire region.
Ancient traders sailing the Indian Ocean and Arabian Sea were the first to describe this weather spectacle. They observed a system of alternating winds across the tropics. In winter, the wind blows dry from the mountains to the northeast. In summer, it gusts from the opposite direction. A difference in temperature between warmer land and cooler sea causes wind to flow from the moist ocean to the dry land, creating the seasonal monsoon.
This wind pattern shift sucks moisture up from the tropics up into the southwest. And then when the moisture comes up into this area, it combines with daytime heating, and you get these really large thunderstorms that form over the higher terrain.
Heavy thunderstorms in the high terrain dump as much as 5 centimeters of rain in just 2 hours. Spread over a 50 square kilometer dry wash, millions of liters of water flood this parched land.
All of that water has time to accumulate and start running down this wash. If you can imagine, this is about the size of a 6-lane freeway. And right now it's bone dry. I mean, the ground is just, there's very little moisture here at all. But it can go from the conditions that we have now to, I could be under 3 or 4 feet of water right now where I'm sitting, almost instantaneously.
Flash flooding, a sudden, destructive rush of water provoked by heavy rain.
This massive torrent of debris-laden carnage just comes tearing through these washes. And you'll just see this dark wall of debris come rolling around the corner. And the only way to describe it is a tsunami on land.
Branches, boulders, entire trees become debris, left behind in the destructive path of the flash flood.
There's a lot of evidence here in this wash of a flash flood that came through here. If you look around, there's tree branches, there's bushes, things that just don't belong in the wash. And, you know, even this pine cone right here is a good example of debris that can get carried down a flood. There's no pine trees for 30 miles of this location. There's a quote around here. There's 2 easy ways to die in the Southwest: thirst and drowning.
The walls of the canyon tower more than 600 meters high. The trails wind for hundreds of kilometers. Southern Utah's slot canyons attracted venture seekers year-round. But they become a death trap, prone to flash flooding.
That is a dangerous place to be, and you can lose your life in that situation, which happens every few years out here. People will die in the slot canyons. And the reason for that is, in a slot canyon, there's nowhere to go. You're literally in a groove that's been carved in the sandstone, hundreds of feet deep. You can touch both walls and it's miles ahead of you, and there's a flash flood approaching you from the back. You only have one option: to run away from it, and you're not gonna outrun a flash flood. If you're gonna come hike into the backcountry in the Southwest, know your weather forecast for that day.
The destructive power responsible for taking lives is also the creator of southern Utah's striking canyons, carved into the landscape with abrasive force. On an average day, 1,000 liters of water run through the Virgin River every second.
For a large part of the year, it's not flowing very high. There's not a lot of this erosion happening. But when a flash flood happens, it can really intensify the river. And that's when it starts picking up more of the material in the bottom of the river and carving away at the sandstone walls.
During a flash flood, the river can swell up to 200 times its original volume in minutes. Strong enough to carry a boulder the size of a car. Fierce enough to rip full-grown trees out of the ground. The Virgin River moves debris at a rate of 300 million tons a year, carving out the canyon walls and floors with every deluge. Scoured by wind, sculpted by water, and wrinkled with time. Zion's cliff face tells the story of its creation. More than 200 million years ago, as the ground rose and fell, the landscape changed, transforming shallow seas into one of the world's largest sand dune deserts. Groundwater filled with minerals seeped through the layers, binding sand particles together like cement. Over millions of years, desert sands turned to sandstone as sediment transformed into rock. In the eastern corner of the park, a natural wonder bears witness to Zion's desert past. Checkerboard Mesa, named after its distinct crisscross pattern. The engravings etched into the rock tell the story of Zion's geological history. Horizontal ridges reveal the region's past life as a sand dune. More than 200 million years ago, ancient winds blew across the desert, piling sand dunes one on top of another. Hardened over time to stone, these ripples were preserved in the sandstone walls of Checkerboard Mesa. When the desert sun retreats, temperatures drop by as much as 60 degrees. Water rolling down the mountain freezes in its tracks, leaving behind deep vertical fractures, like cracks in pavement after a harsh winter. In the mid-16th century, Spanish explorers arrived in the American Southwest in search of gold and gems. Instead, they discovered the geological treasures of Zion. Among the canyons, plateaus, and arches, explorers found isolated, flat-topped mountains. Fascinated by their form, they called them mesas, meaning table in Spanish. Hidden amid Zion's geological grandeur are hundreds of natural arches chiseled into jagged canyon walls. Tucked away in the remote northwestern corner of the park rests one of Zion's most spectacular wonders. Suspended high above the rugged cliffs, a ribbon of rock stands proudly against the canyon wall. Stretching more than 85 meters, the Kolob Arch is one of the longest natural arches on the planet. The arch is nestled in Zion's Kolob Canyons, a remote 120 square kilometer expanse where soaring cliffs and deep slot canyons stand largely undiscovered. Overlooking all of Zion, Kolob Canyon's tallest peaks soar 2,600 meters above sea level. In the 1850s, Mormon settlers arrived at Kolob Canyons. They used the area for timber and grazing stock. Astounded by the soaring walls of sandstone, settlers called these canyons Kolob, a word derived from Mormon scripture, meaning residence closest to heaven. along the jagged walls of Zion, future arches begin to take shape. The formation of an arch begins with water trickling into cracks along the surface. Water freezes and expands each ridge, applying pressure to the structure. Eventually, the fragile sandstone gives way, crumbling and flaking, while tougher strips of rock remain, forming a natural arch. In architecture, the arch is the most stable load-bearing structure. But over time, the erosion that created these arches will eventually destroy them. In the heart of Zion's main canyon, perched high in the clouds, more than 400 meters above the canyon floor, is one of the world's most extreme hiking trails, Angel's Landing.
It's a 1,400-foot elevation gain from river level here all the way up to the top. And the last half mile of Angel's Landing is a vertical drop on both sides. So you're pulling yourself up a series of chains to get all the way out to that edge.
In 1916, on an exploration up canyon, the Methodist minister Frederick Fisher looked up at the monolith and proclaimed, "Only an angel could land on it." By 1926, a trail was cut into solid rock, leading hikers up to the heavens. Down in the valley, ringed by towering rock, seeps and springs trickle down sandstone, collecting at the canyon base. The emerald pools, hanging gardens bloom from the jagged walls, watered by moisture seeping through the sandstone, and a gentle mist of spray from the falls. Junipers and towering ponderosa advance thirsty roots downward in search of nutrients. Water weeps into the canyon, streaking the rock face black, while droplets dance on fallen boulders below.
It's a little surprising for some people who come here and, they expect to see a barren landscape, but really it's like a little oasis in Zion.
Water, carving its path through Zion's porous sandstone, hits an impenetrable roadblock. A rock layer called the Kayenta Shale, sandstone packed with silt, mud, and clay, resistant to erosion. Forced to change its course, water gushes out of the rock in a series of cascading springs, spraying the canyon's parched walls on its descent into the Virgin River. Down in the valley, towering walls tightly envelop the Virgin River, creating a 25-kilometer maze of winding trails through water. The Zion Narrows, a gorge 600 meters deep, but only 6 meters across, zigzags through the park, 100 times deeper than it is wide. Whether hiking in the Virgin River or climbing 600-meter cliffs, Zion is a playground for those who seek adventure. More than 250 kilometers of hiking trails wind through Zion National Park. From short single-day hikes to backpacking trips spanning several days, some choose to sightsee vertically. 600-meter canyon cliffs entice thrill-seekers from around the world. Treacherous multi-day climbs are made more daring by the slick rock surface of Zion's sandstone walls.
I like to get out into the backcountry. I like the wilderness locations. I really enjoy being able to spend a whole day here and not see anyone. If you just put a little bit more effort forth and hike some of the more strenuous trails, you can find complete solitude.
Zion's landscape of soaring cliffs, forested plateaus, and deep gorges extends beyond the boundaries of the park. To the southeast lies Canaan Mountain Wilderness Area, a high and wild plateau of slick rock, dotted with ponderosa pines.
It's a multi-day backpacking trip across a waterless expanse of sandstone. So it is very, very strenuous, and it's just very difficult because you do have to pack in a lot of water and then filter the tiny amount of water that you can find along your way. There are hundreds of miles of established trails and slot canyons and peaks that are still waiting to be explored.
Zion is a wild and remote paradise for hikers and explorers. Down in the valley, the morning sun pours light on the canyon's western wall, igniting Zion with a golden glow. In the foothills of the shaded canyon, mule deer graze, savoring the coolness of early dawn. Named after their greatest desert adaptation, these deer have a set of large mule-like ears atop their heads that function as a cooling system. Blood vessels close to the skin's surface release body heat into the surrounding air. The mule deer's gray coat blends in with desert shrubbery to provide camouflage from potential predators, cougars, coyotes, and for young deer, eagles. In fall and winter, mule deer survive on a meager diet of desert shrubs. The changing seasons and summer monsoons bring a feast of greens. As the desert sun climbs above the canyon, mule deer take shelter in the shadows of the soaring sandstone walls. Like all desert creatures, they have mastered a game of hide and seek with the beating rays of the daylight sun. Down on the simmering canyon floor, a gopher snake seeks refuge, retreating into fleeting shade afforded by the tangled branches of the desert brush. As the evening sun descends, the silhouette of Zion's majestic mountaineer is burned into the desert sky. The bighorn sheep, one of nature's most talented climbers. bighorns inhabit the steep, soaring mountains of eastern Zion. This seemingly inhospitable landscape of vertical rock is home. Elevated more than 800 meters above the valley, these rugged cliffs are a safe zone. With ledges as narrow as 5 centimeters, scaling a mountain this steep is a treacherous task for large predators like coyotes and mountain lions. But for the bighorn sheep, it provides a quick escape route. Desert bighorn sheep are born equipped to scale these steep mountains. Their outer hooves are like toenails, formed to hook onto even the smallest of rocks. In the 1960s, desert bighorn sheep were extinct at Zion. Early pioneers brought livestock, and with it, diseases that decimated the wild sheep. Eventually, the species vanished completely from the park. A decade later, the National Park Service reintroduced this icon of the Rockies back into Zion's canyons. Today, the population is at more than 500 and growing every year. After a day of rest in the canyon's shaded caves, desert bighorn sheep emerge from hiding. Mothers and their young assemble on a mountaintop to feed in the final hours of daylight glow. Bighorn sheep find safety in numbers. Females, called ewes, band together in herds of up to 15. Groups of males are much smaller, with as few as 2 to 5 members. The sexes only get together during breeding season.
Springtime here in Zion is a very neat time of year for looking at the desert bighorn. They have lambs right now, and you can see the families on the rocks. You can see the lambs trying to learn how to make their way across the landscape following their parents.
Protective mothers supervise their young, watching as they take their first steep steps into the world. Cautious lambs tread carefully across the rock, hesitant to make their way down, while others throw caution to the wind and learn to run before they walk. Soon, these lambs will develop their signature horns. Males will grow a large, curling rack that weighs as much as 15 kilograms. The females don't quite live up to the bighorn name. Theirs are much smaller and don't curl. Rams use their horns as weapons during the rut of mating season. The horns of desert sheep are also everyday utensils. They are used to break open cacti, a desert plant that keeps the sheep hydrated when water is scarce. In the cool setting sun, bighorn sheep are in no rush, slowly nibbling on nearby shrubbery. Well adapted to the desert, bighorns can go a week without drinking, sustaining their body moisture from their food alone. In times of need, a desert bighorn can lose as much as 30% of its body weight in water, almost as much as a camel, and still survive. As the setting sun shades the canyon, bighorns take a final nibble before heading back up canyon for the night. East of Zion, nature slowly sculpts intricate formations from the limestone walls of Utah's highest plateau. At a towering elevation of more than 2,000 meters, the Paunsaugunt Plateau is blanketed by snow. More than 5 meters collect on the plateau each year. Paunsaugunt means home of beavers, named by the Paiute, the indigenous people of the Great Basin area. Bristlecone pine forests, alpine meadows, lakes and streams stretch 40 kilometers long and 16 kilometers wide. Carved into the high plateau of deep green forest is one of Utah's most stunning natural treasures. Bryce Canyon National Park. A sea of soaring spires extends across 145 square kilometers of southern Utah's Colorado Plateau. The park curves along a semicircle referred to as an amphitheater. Down in the bowl, the bright orange pinnacles of Bryce shift shapes and shades as nature's spotlight moves across the sky.
When you step onto the rim of the Bryce Canyon Amphitheater, it's really a scene that's not like anything you've ever experienced anywhere. And it's just a feeling of awe that nature can create someplace that is just so spectacular.
More than 50 million years ago, an ancient lake covered this land. And its unique pinnacles were nothing more than sediment on the lake bottom. Layers of calcium-rich mud, silt, and sand settled at the base. Iron-rich minerals dissolved in the water and seeped through the sediment, like food coloring, rendering it a deep orange hue, the signature shade of Bryce's brilliant peaks. Over millions of years, the calcium-rich sediments solidified into limestone and mudstone, the building blocks of Bryce Canyon. These colorful layers of sediment surfaced as the ancient lake was drained by the uplift of the Colorado Plateau. Despite its name, Bryce is not considered a real canyon, because it was not carved by flowing water. Its towering spires were chiseled by the freezing and thawing of rain and snow. At nearly 2,700 meters above sea level, Bryce is the highest point on the Colorado Plateau. On a clear day, the view from Bryce is a breathtaking 200-kilometer expanse of rugged cliffs and desert plains. But as the elevation climbs, the temperature drops. With the setting sun, temperatures at Bryce can plunge by as much as 25 degrees Celsius. Winter nights can get as cold as minus 34 degrees. Snow, thawed by the warm sun, then freezes overnight. Bryce Canyon goes through 200 of these cycles each year. Snowmelt trickles down the walls of Bryce, pooling in the rock's vertical ridges. As water freezes overnight, it can expand by as much as 10%. Bit by bit, ice pries these cracks open, expanding them slowly, like potholes in a city street. Eventually, openings are cut right through the rock, and holes, called windows, form in the walls of Bryce. When a window grows too big, the top stretch of rock linking the two vertical walls collapses. From small pebbles to large boulders the size of a minivan, the rocks of Bryce come tumbling down to be washed away by snowmelt and flash flooding. Left behind are bizarre and mesmerizing pinnacles, hoodoos. Like a fingerprint, every hoodoo in Bryce Canyon is unique. These orange pinnacles, shaped like totem poles, vary in size. Some are the height of an average human, others as tall as a 10-story building. The Paiute, a nomadic tribe that inhabited the Paunsaugunt Plateau of Bryce, believed these soaring pinnacles were solidified remains of people, turned to stone for their evil deeds, frozen for eternity by a vengeful god. Early Spanish explorers believed that Native Americans worshipped these stones. The Spanish called them hoodoos, in reference to an African-American spiritual tradition. As the evening sun descends, the hoodoos of Bryce burn red against a crisp blue sky. Crowded into 2 miles of Bryce Park is the largest concentration of hoodoos on the planet. Each layer of rock that makes up Bryce Canyon erodes at its own pace, sculpting the unique curves of every hoodoo. Mudstone is the softest and most easily eroded. It is usually the narrowest part of every pinnacle. Limestone is the toughest. It is the wider, top block that caps the hoodoo. Acting as a protective layer, limestone shields the mudstone below from erosion. But even this protective rock eventually erodes away, and the hoodoo becomes nothing more than a pile of dirt. As old hoodoos vanish, new ones are created. Eventually, the erosion that creates these hoodoos will also destroy them. It is estimated in fewer than 3 million years, the hoodoos of Bryce will disappear, worn down by wind, water, gravity, and the ravages of time. From the colorful pinnacles of Bryce to the deep and winding narrows of Zion, the high plateaus of Utah are a natural and geological treasure.
It's premier country, premier landscape, just beautiful formations to come see, once in a lifetime place.
The highest peak of the plateau offers a front row seat to one of nature's most beautiful spectacles.
When you first walk up to the edge of the Bryce Canyon Amphitheater, it's just an absolutely awe-inspiring experience to see these thousands of brilliantly colored hoodoos right in front of you.
A rugged landscape of soaring cliffs and boundless canyons.
The vastness of Zion is what makes it special to me. The reminder that I get every day that I'm a speck. I'm so tiny in the grand scheme of things, and I love being completely surrounded by the rocks and the canyons and just being a little tiny piece of this vast area.
This wild stretch of southern Utah is a window into its rich geological past. Zion's walls reveal the history of ancient desert dunes. The forces that continue to carve through the high plateaus of Utah remind us that the story of this majestic land is still being written.